Hello and welcome to Unit 4. Unit 4 is budgeting and travel. So what is our first topic for this unit? It is reading military time and then working with time zones. So what do I want you to be able to do? I want you to be able to go between the 12 and 24-hour clock system. And then I want you to be able to answer a bunch of questions about time zones and dealing with time zones. Okay? So where we're starting today, how do I convert between the two time measurements? So for those that are not aware, we have something called Greenwich time, or Greenwich time, I guess. And that works on a 12-hour system. So we have a 12-hour system that extends from 12-hour system. So we deal with the AM and PM, and that's what the majority of us are comfortable with. Okay? With military time, you don't need the AM and PM. What it is a more secure way or a sure way of reducing the amount of or possible mistakes, and it works on a 24-hour system. So basically what we're looking at is to move from one to the other is that Greenwich time. We know that in the AM it extends from midnight, so we'd go from midnight, better spell that right, midnight to noon, and we call that the AM. And then in the PM we go from noon and return back to midnight. So when you do that, we always end up using numbers from 0 to 12. All right, we always stay with these numbers from 0 to 12. So our numbers are always from, actually we don't even have 0 technically. We go from 1 to 12. We never really have a 0. In the 24-hour system, the way it works, AM, at midnight, they start at what they call 0 hours. So it looks like this. And it extends out to 1200 hours. Okay? Get rid of that notation. So this is your midnight, and this is your noon. Okay? When we move into the PM then, again from noon, they go from 1200 hours to 2400 hours. So that's noon to midnight. And when they get to that midnight, it switches from 2400 hours back to 0, and we start the cycle again. So the strategy then that we're talking about here, to go from one system to the other, all right, so our strategy, I'll put it right here. All we have to do is, for AM, so I'll go with 1, for AM, all we have to do is change the notation. All right, no changes are required. For PM, we need to add 12 to. So in order to go to military time, what we've got to do for our PM times, we've got to add 12 to the time. All right, so we're just going to be practicing adding 12 hours to our PM times. So there it is right there, your strategy. And we'll make that onto an anchor chart so that you have that as you move into the homework. So here are a couple of examples. We're going to convert the military time. Now, again, I'm not going to waste my time with the AM time because it's straightforward. It's the exact same thing. It's the PM time that's important. So this right here, all time in the afternoon or PM when we're looking at the clocks. So here, normally I'd ask you what time is it, and you would tell me it's 2 No, 150, sorry. 150, can't even read the clock myself. 150 p.m. All right, and that's because all time's 150. So military time then, you have to add 12 hours. So that means that you would report this as 1350 hours. And that's the answer. All right, so 1350 is the time, military time. Okay, just adding 12 hours. Looking at this clock, it is after 8 o'clock. It looks like 8, and that's what, 20, say 23, 22, 8 hours, 22 minutes. So if you were to report this in military time, you'd have to add 12 to it. And you do 8 and 12, that gives you 20. So you would say 2022 hours. Okay, so again, you're just adding 12 hours to your traditional time for afternoon. The last one here is 10:10, so it's the end of period 1. Actually, no, because it's PM, so it's probably bedtime for everyone. I'm sure you all have a 10 o'clock curfew. Add 12 hours to that, and you would report it as 2010 hours, or 2110 hours. Okay? So there's your military time. Why do we need to do military time? We are looking at a unit on travel, and pretty much all bus, train, and airplane schedules run on military time. And that's to avoid that confusion of AM or PM. All right, so that's why we're looking at dealing with military time. Run on military time. So when you go to the airport, you go to a train station, very, very important that you can read this military time, because that's what you're going to see. And again, they do it so that there's less confusion when you're working through, or when you're looking at what time is your departure time. Okay, so the next part here, convert to Greenwich time, and that's the one we're used to. So if it was adding 12 hours to go to military time, we have to subtract 12 hours from military time. So we're going to do the opposite. So I have an example here. This is a time clock that you might see maybe at an international airport, government facilities if you have locations, or stock markets. So we'll look at each one individually. So Zulu, 1342 military time. What is that in our time, in Greenwich time, the one we're familiar with? Well, we would subtract 12. So 13 take away 12. It is actually 1:42 in the afternoon, 1:42 p.m. All right. If we're looking at Hawaii, they have it as 0342. If it starts with an O, that means it is AM. Okay? So if it's less than 12, we do not have to subtract. All right? So I'll add that up above. If less than 12, it is the AM. Okay? So that means 0342 is the same as 3:42 AM. So it's 3:42 in the morning. Okay? Looking at Japan here. So Japan, they have it as 22:42 hours. This one's over 12, so we've got to subtract 12. So when you take 22, take away 12, we end up with 10:42, and it must be a PM time. Okay. Korea, I don't have to do it. It's the same as Japan. Then on to Thailand. So 20:42. Again, that is in military time. It's over 12 hours. I got to subtract the 12. And when you take away the 12, we end up with 8:42. And again, it's PM. So we have to make sure when we're doing this, we have to make sure our AM and PMs are clearly listed when we're doing our Greenwich time or our normal time. With military time, they don't care. You don't have to put in any AM or PM at all because it runs on that 0 to 2400 hour system. So it's a little bit more efficient for them, and it allows computers, they actually prefer that time, a little bit easier for them to work with as well. So what I would recommend at this point, there is 2 videos to this first lesson. What I would recommend is you go ahead and do the military time first, break it up a little bit, and then watch the second video on time zones. So we'll see you in the time zones video.